You go over there and you give your little girlfriend a gift or something, and it's an abortion from Planned Parenthood. What's her daddy going to do? I know what.
He might be grateful. Some of them.
What upsets me though is Planned Parenthood have no shame.
No. And listen, years ago, when I saw this, Johnny, what it reminded me of is years ago, and I think I talked to you about this some time ago. Planned Parenthood in Louisiana at one point, they were approached to make a donation to a local silent auction to raise money for some school or something, and they donated an abortion. They had donated an abortion to the silent auction. Oh. So I guess you could go to the silent auction and just buy one to have it there in the background if you ever.
Whoa. If you're. What's really sad about this, though, and I know, I mean, it's comical, but the sad thing is, women would not wear those T-shirts that they produced that said, "I had an abortion."
Right.
Why not?
And because they're too ashamed.
Right.
They're way too ashamed of that. But people will continually buy these gift certificates to give someone else an abortion. Yeah. It's the same philosophy. I wouldn't do it myself, but if you want to do it, go ahead. But I think it goes even further than that. They want you. It's a eugenic principle. They want you to have the abortion.
It's a coward's creed. It's not good for me, but it's okay for you.
It's okay for you. Mm-hmm. Well, you know, I've often said when you encounter these guys who are so radically pro-abortion, you know, I support women, and they want you to think that they are this sensitive, you know, today kind of guy, and they really
metrosexual.
Yeah, they're whatever that means, and they're all in support of women. Let me tell you something. Not one of those guys would do the parallel thing for the girlfriend that they would impregnate. In other words, if he were the one that got pregnant and said, okay, now you go over here and you climb up on this table and put your feet in the stirrups, and this is going to be extraordinarily painful, and then we're going to let this moral degenerate root around inside you with sharp instruments. There's not a one on earth that would do that, but they would sure put their girlfriend in that position in a New York minute. And anyway, speaking of the election, I don't know if you guys have noticed this or not. I'm sure you have. Obama's cabinet and all of his picks in the government, it's a who's who of the abortion industry. Most of these people are coming directly out of the abortion industry.
Wow. And Emily's List.
Oh, yeah.
You know, no, I thought Obama was pro-life.
Oh, yeah. Well, we hear people nonsense. But where are the pro-lifers on here? We're talking about an inclusive, you know, administration, right? Mm-hmm. Where are the pro-lifers on here?
Did he ask you? You didn't get a call yet?
I'm not qualified to be, but of course most of these people aren't either.
I was shocked at how many Clinton people he's bringing back.
Right.
To me, it was almost like Hillary could have won and had the same.
It wouldn't make any difference.
It wouldn't make it. They had the same set of people.
Right.
What happened to the change we were going to have?
Yeah, that's what we're going to be left with.
Well, these people, I mean, literally, we're talking about people that came direct, not just support legal abortion, but are coming out of the abortion industry. Right. That are in
abortionists or work at
people that work for
or?
Emily's List, or people that work for Planned Parenthood, or people that work for NARAL. They're coming into the Obama's appointing them into the administration.
To do what?
Now, but let me tell you something though. In a sense, this is the way it should be. The problem that we have is the reverse doesn't happen, because if you look at the people that George Bush appointed, it looks like a who's who of pro-aborts too. Sure. If you go down the list of people he put in his cabinet and people he's appointed to positions, a very high percentage of them are rabid pro-aborts. Mm-hmm. And yet the Democrats will come out here and say, but we're the party of inclusion and you're the party of separation and division and so forth. Okay, if you're the party of inclusion, where are the pro-lifers? I want to know where they are.
For your first-time subscribers to LifeTalk, they need to know when we talk about people like Emily List, we're talking about an organization that only will back pro-hardcore abortion candidates.
That's what the thing was created for. Mm-hmm. It was to get pro-abortion women.
Yes.
Pro-abortion women elected to office. That's all they support. And you've got people coming out of Emily's List, one of them named Ellen Morin. She was executive director for Emily's List, and now she's going to be Obama's communications director. So that's just one example of what I'm talking about. But the problem is that when we get a Republican, supposed a pro-life Republican elected, they're as likely to appoint a pro-abort into these positions of power as a pro-lifer. And so we don't really make any progress when we get them elected. It's really.
What do you say to people that say, well, there's more issues than just the abortion issue?
There is no more issue, an issue that's more important. I guarantee you, if someone says to me, there's other issues besides abortion, I'm going to say to you, if you were the one who was going to be taken somewhere in the morning and have your arms and legs pulled off and have your head crushed and have your chest crushed and be ripped apart, no anesthesia, no nothing, you're just going to be manually ripped apart, you wouldn't be sitting here saying, oh, there's more important issues we got to consider. That's nonsense. Now, you hear that nonsense even from pro-lifers occasionally, and I'm sick of listening to it.
I am too. It makes me ill.
Anyway, we'll be right back. The recent presidential election should put an end to any illusions we might have that America is still a Christian nation. When you look at the post-election polling, it is clear that without Catholics, evangelicals, and regular churchgoers, we would not have elected an amoral heretic to be the leader of our nation. In effect, it was a replay of the 1992 and 1996 campaigns in which people who also called themselves Christians chose a man to be president that they wouldn't trust to be alone in a room with their teenage daughters. Now, those same people, many of whom actually claim to be pro-life, have elected Barack Obama. And if you ask them how they can justify supporting this guy, most will say that they had to set aside his position on abortion because they thought he was better on the economy. This, of course, was the same sort of rationalization we heard from them when they supported Bill Clinton. Here's what I want you to think about. Let's say you ask America's most notorious abortionist, George Tiller, why he does abortions. Let's also say that in a rare spasm of honesty, he says that he knows it's murder, but he does it for the money. The question is, how would that make Tiller any different than these people who say they are pro-life but voted for a raging pro-abort like Barack Obama because of the economy? They can sugarcoat it all they want, but what they were saying is, I will vote to allow babies to be butchered by the millions if it makes me money. Listen, these people may not want to hear it, but they just got through selling their souls for a few pieces of silver. Whether it's in their next new car, their next vacation, their next pair of shoes, or their next trip to McDonald's, in this election, they said that they are willing to let the tab be paid for with the blood of the unborn. And any way you cut it, that makes them no different than George Tiller or any other abortionist. Welcome back. All right, we've got some things going on with lawsuits, as we always do in the pro-life movement.
I love lawsuits.
And we were going to have Walter Hoye on, who we've had on the show before, and he's involved in a lawsuit in California. But
it's more than a lawsuit.
I know, yeah, but he was going to. I just want to make people understand. He was willing to come on, but his attorney advised him not to. And you're very well knowledgeable about this, and you know, yes, Mr. Hoye.
He's right out of Berkeley, and he's a very peaceful pastor. You got to understand now, California like black folks unless you're pro-life.
Right.
You know, and if you're pro-life, they got a real problem with it. Here you have a minister who stands out in front of abortion clinic, very peaceful, holds a sign that says, Jesus loves you and your baby. Let us help. Right. And whenever somebody tried to come, the pro-aborts would get in front of the sign. They try to block that sign, and they would obstruct them and everything. But evidently, he must have been pretty effective because the clinic went to the Oakland City Council and got them to come up with a Mother May I ordinance. And that Mother May I ordinance means you can't come within 8 feet of somebody going to the abortion clinic without their permission to even give them a leaflet. You have to ask them, may I? And if they don't, if they say no or you don't even ask them, you're not allowed to.
And of course, in California or in any other state, no one would tolerate this in any other area except abortion.
And in fact,
could you imagine union organizers being told, you can't go to this facility and talk to a worker unless he gives you permission to?
Years ago, the Schenck versus the Western New York case, and I was one of the defendants named in that thing, where they had a bubble zone around people going into the abortion clinic. Couldn't come within something like 5 feet or something like that. The Supreme Court threw that mess out. Right. They threw it out. Even the union was on our side. You know, so I mean, that doesn't matter that there's been a previous case. It doesn't matter to these people. But nevertheless, they have actually now hauled him into court. He's been charged with 4 counts. 2 counts for violating that ordinance, which means about 1 count of it, by the way, is 2 years in jail and or a $2,000 fine. He's been charged with 2 counts of it, plus he's been charged with threatening and to use force against the clinic workers. At a pretrial hearing, even the clinic workers got him and said, well, no, he never ever threatened us. They admitted it. And they bragged about how they could block him with their signs. And they had an Oakland City attorney out there watching him when all this happened. And he thought, well, the ex-courts are being very creative. Nevertheless, they have hauled him into court, and now this man is facing 2 counts. We're talking about 4 years of jail.
Potentially.
Potentially.
For breaking the Mother May I law.
For breaking the Mother May I law. And I want to tell you, people from around the nation, I don't care whether you're black or white, we need not stand by why this is going on with his brother. His trial is coming up, and by the time this is airing, the case might have already been decided one way or the other. But I'm telling you, if he go to jail, there's going to be some black folks coming to visit California.
Well, maybe that'll be the good thing then.
It might need to happen. Right. It just might need to happen.
Well, I'll tell you,
and you know what? From the times I've talked to this man, he'd be perfectly willing to go to jail if that was the result.
He would. In fact, they even tried to get him to plead guilty to 1 misdemeanor count, and to stay away from the clinics for good for an unspecified number. They wouldn't. He refused to.
Good.
He's a good man.
Refused to.
We're going to, after the first of the year, organize a big protest, and we're going to see what this Mother May I law is really made of.
Amen. Amen. Well, we're going to be joining you with that one, Troy.
Very good.
There's a number of bishops like Bishop Fozard and all and others. Mm-hmm. We have a meeting in Durham, and these bishops had enough mess now. Mm-hmm. And this mess of them bringing in African American who's simply out there holding a sign, a minister holding a sign.
Well, here's the other thing. They weren't having a problem. The abortion clinic was not having a problem out there with the other pro-lifers until Pastor Hoye showed up, because he was African American, he was turning away a lot of women and really running their business down. And he's very peaceful, just holding that sign. So they had to get rid of him. They created this whole law.
Jesse Jackson. Is he out there
where's
helping
Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton supposed to be out there?
With their loud mouths.
You're right. No one in the world would tolerate such an ordinance except against pro-lifers.
Right. Well, speaking of lawsuits, our friends up in Illinois, the Scheidlers, Joe, of course, everybody knows, and his son Eric, these people can't stay out of trouble with the law. I don't know if y'all ever noticed that. They're always in the court system.
But they always win. That's the great thing about
they're
the
always
Scheidlers.
clogging up the court systems. Well, anyway, one of them right now, Eric, is joining us to tell us about a lawsuit that's going on up there and a lot of things that are happening. Hello, Eric.
How you doing?
Fine, sir. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Well, good. Tell us about what's happening with your this lawsuit that's going on with Aurora Planned Parenthood.
Well, in a nutshell, back in summer and early fall of 2007, Planned Parenthood built this massive abortuary in Aurora under a fake name, under a cloud of controversy. And there was a whole lot of community outrage about it, and I was leading some of that community opposition to Planned Parenthood. Well, Planned Parenthood saw that the whole community didn't want them, and so instead of trying to defend their defrauding of the city, they instead attacked the pro-lifers in a full-page ad in our local newspaper. They put a picture of a burned-out abortion clinic up there, and they claimed that we have a documented, well-documented history of encouraging acts of violence and other crimes. They were dredging up a bunch of the claims made against my father, Joe Scheidler, in his Now versus Scheidler case. They didn't bother to mention that he was vindicated in that case 2 times in the United States Supreme Court, the second time unanimously.
Well, those are just details.
Right. Well, never mind that the court overturned all these outrageous things.
Right.
And they also repeated these same lies and slanders in letters to our mayor and our aldermen, in statements to the press, and in other ads in other newspapers. So we're having our good name defamed right and left by Planned Parenthood, and they're the ones who are the liars and the schemers, and, of course, they're the ones who perpetrate violence in the womb.
Right.
So we couldn't let this stand. Back in October of 2007, I filed a libel suit against Planned Parenthood. Myself and some of my friends here in the town of Aurora, where I live and work, fighting Planned Parenthood. Well, Planned Parenthood turned around and a few months later finally responded with a motion to dismiss on the basis of what's called the Citizens Participation Act. This is a law designed to protect local grassroots organizers and activists from powerful entities like Planned Parenthood, for example, that have a lot of money and can scare them away from being involved in the political process through threats of lawsuits. They're trying to say we're the big bully picking on Planned Parenthood with our libel suit. And the scary part of it all is that the judge agreed. She granted Planned Parenthood a license to lie because they can claim that, well, because they were trying to get the government to do something, let them finish building this building, open their doors, therefore they can say anything they want to about us, and it's immune under Illinois law. It's really a breathtaking interpretation of the law.
This is Judge Judith Braca?
That's right. Judge Judith Braca issued this ruling. But there's some good news. Last week, the judge allowed 2 counts, a count of libel and a count of slander, to stand. These were things that we discovered during the course of our earlier investigation. So even though those counts were